It's a shitty band.
And that's why I blocked him. And that's why I blocked him.
And that's why.
That's why.
That's why I
Hello,
blocked
welcome to the 40K Adjacent Show. I'm your host, Rob. And I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Val Heffelfinger and Falcon, from the 40K Stats Mind Hive, where he amalgamates the Burb. Pete's tired, and Val is awake. So we haven't seen you in a few weeks, so that's nice having you back. He's kick punching, which is exciting. Thankfully, there's very little.
Punch, it's all in the mind.
Are you about to parappa the rapper me? Because I will
Holy
go down this
shit,
journey.
how did you pick up that reference off of Kick Punch? It's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind. If you're going to beat me, I'm sure you'll find the moves I teach you are sure to beat you. But listen up, you got to listen to teach and learn punch. Yeah, that's the whole of parappa the rapper first round. Let's go.
Continue. Stage 2. Let's do it.
I think we've done it. We've done it. That's it. The Adjacent Show is finished. We have reached singularity. I can't believe anyone not only got a Parappa the Rapper reference, but was able to do the entire song.
It's because I could never beat that level. Hours as a child. 14 hours a day. Just trying to... Come on, Parappa! You've got this!
It's like one of the earliest rhythm games, I think.
Really good game. Really good game. Anyway, let's cycle backwards. Falcon, how you feeling? Bit tired, babe.
Oh, terrible. I just feel awful.
Why?
Just body, mind, and spirit. Just torn down by no sleep.
Were you thinking about all of the poor fellows out there having to repaint 240 Ork Boys?
Oh,
no.
Come on.
I will say, I spent a lot of time last night thinking about all the people that got Dominion boxes and how I wasn't one of them. That's about it. Like,
you're finally on Twitter. Like, you see how it sounds. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think it was so weird. I didn't realize how many people get GW product for free until they sent out like what feels like 1 million Dominion boxes. I saw YouTube channels yesterday unboxing Dominion. I don't even think they know what a Games Workshop is. Like, I have no idea. They're like, we got this thing from this dude. His name's James. It's pretty cool. Let's open it up. See
Unbox Therapy's like, yo, we got this dope. I guess the miniatures.
I actually saw I saw the guy on Hot Wings interviewing a Dominion box.
Yeah, Hot Ones.
There's
Hot Ones,
the good joke.
whole thing.
Thanks for finding the good joke. Oh.
So, if you're listening, send me a pot grot. That's all I want. Send me a pot grot. Send me the shaman. That's all I want. I know you're not going to use the models anyway.
Not to be that guy, but you guys are like MetaWatch contributors.
We did contribute an article.
We did do an article once, yeah.
So isn't that doesn't that qualify you?
I feel like as creative director of a network, I should be getting a little.
I think you should. I mean, I know why I don't get anything.
Why don't you get anything?
Well, I'm just a really sour fellow.
Yeah, no, he's upset all the time. Even when he's well read.
Matthew, what the fuck? The Wicket Keeper has returned.
What did he just do?
He donated 50 gift subscriptions.
Good lord.
Good lord.
Keeper knocked out Rob. Just done.
Oh my god. Nurgle Matthew. Done. What a legend. Yep. What a legend.
Yep.
Pete, continue with why you don't get
I just assume that's it. I just assume that it's because I don't like I talk too much about numbers and not enough about how pretty models are. Which, by the way, they are beautiful. I would just gorgeous. Wink.
They are.
They're very nice. Val, Nurgle Matthew should get one. You should get a Dominion box at this point. We know why I don't get one. Because I turned them down when they offered me free things.
You and that handsome, smooth-talking guy. The one who's always talking like this, and is just such a nice fellow.
Who's that guy?
He's always smiling. And we bought a large statue recently. Had his son or a baby. Winter's minis, dark winter minis, midwinter minis.
SEO?
Midwinter
Minis.
Mm-hmm.
He tore up his NDA. He tore up his NDA like Sinead O'Connor. You know what I'm saying? Just ice cold in the camera.
He didn't do any of that. He wasn't happy about that. So yeah, there's a lot of Dominion boxes out there. It goes on pre-order soon. But I got to look at the rules last night, Pete. And...
Yeah, I saw your video.
Oh, you watched it?
Of course I did, because I'm very interested in your opinion when it comes to Age of Sigmar.
Who's getting payola now? What did Rob slip you for that one?
No, just listen to the specifics of what he said. I'm very interested in your opinion on Age of Sigmar. Thanks, mate, Marty8 Hoy. Thank you for subscribing. No, Matthew, thanks. You're crazy, man. You're amazing. What was I going to say? The rules are pretty fucking good, man.
I saw. You seem like you're never positive, so I was quite impressed.
I'm sure he's tested positive for stuff.
Oh,
Pete loved that joke.
I did.
Hey man, I've been swinging hard today, and
there's a hole in my heart, and that joke filled it up right away. Filled it up. There can be no more sadness.
Anyway, so I mean, it looks pretty exciting, which I'm keen about. Sad news is it looks like the Potgrots, although the powerhouse behind all. You know how 40k has. I don't know if this is true. It feels like, you two can correct me on this. It feels like there are two main forums of discourse in 40k. There's obviously competitive Warhammer Comp 40k on Reddit, and then there's also the Comp 40k group on Facebook. That feels like the two melting pots of conversation. Would you agree or disagree with that sentiment?
That's probably right. Yeah.
I mean, public conversation, sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the Dutch rudder circle jerk of the ITC organizers group, of course. Yeah, I'm not whatever that is. That what it's called, or is it just called the Dutch
Rudderers? Yes, that is explicitly what it's called. Well, I mean, they're a whole team, the Double Dutch Rudder team. Quite good. Most of their players are pretty. He thinks I'm joking, but
is there a Double Dutch Rudder team?
Oh yeah,
there is 100%. They're out of Utah too.
Yeah, the Utah Double Dutch Rudder, and it's a bunch of old grognards that are just awesome. But yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, the point is, in Age of Sigmar, Val, don't get upset because I mentioned ITC in a jokey way. Don't get mad at me.
Shit's serious. Okay. It's serious.
Well, anyway, in Age of Sigmar, it's WhatsApp groups is the kind of main. There obviously are also.
That was
Facebook.
Actually what I was referring to. A bunch of mean girl chats where everyone talks nonsense about everybody else.
Yeah. But Age of Sigmar, the Age of Sigmar groups, this is Super 40k Jason, are all insanely different. Like the Stormcast one's very serious, and you only discuss the rules, and you can't talk about anything negative or anything like that. Yeah. However, the Ogre one has descended into just adults sending pictures of their dinners every day. Yeah, it's gone completely off the rockers.
That seems on point. That seems on point for an ogre chat, though.
Yeah,
pictures of things
this feels like what I would want.
Yeah, that's my point. That's what I'm trying to get at. They descend into whatever they are best. And then also, the Gits one is full of true maniacs, true livid maniacs. The Beast of Chaos ones,
high on mushrooms all the time.
Yeah, they're just mental, right? But the key one, I joined the Cruel Boys chat last night. Very excited about that for the Cruel Boys. First thing I came in, I was like, "Cruel Boys, let's go!" And someone went, "Fuck off!" And I was like, "I'm home. I'm fucking home." It's all right.
I mean, this could have gone way worse with this, so I'm happy. I'm happy.
It was really good. I was very happy. Anyway, 40k. Val, how have you been?
Boys,
we haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Oh, just birthing a series of shows that sure Pete talks smack about in various secret chat groups that I just referred to.
All of them, in fact.
I don't know. It's been a lot of fun. We've been trying to get some versions of shows out, but when you create something, Robin, you will know this, that it enters the world covered in goo and pooping itself, and over time cleans up. And I like to think that that's how we're doing. Although I actually think we've done a little bit better than that. Did get over my head, Pete. Just full disclosure here. Left myself a lot of editing to do on 40K Stats Center. It will come out. It will come out probably when it's still relevant, ideally before the next show happens tonight. But there's a lot of pieces. I got the interview with Rich Kilton.
Nice.
Which was really nice. Just really added this wind in my sails, the interview with Rich Kilton.
Can you quickly contextualize the interview with Rich Kilton as to why he got interviewed?
Rich Kilton won the Utah Gamers Alliance GT with Orks.
With Orks. Yeah, I saw. Very excited. I just thought for the audience.
Well, who doesn't know Rich Killaton? Or kills tons? He carries the mail, Rob. Carries the mail and he delivers it.
Carries an entire codex on his back.
That's right.
Is he Kevin Costner from one of the best and most underrated films of all time? The Postman.
I never saw The Postman.
Oh, you were going with Postman. Okay.
Waterworld is just great. I mean,
Waterworld is also great.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps Dennis Hopper's greatest role. Some say Easy Rider. I say Waterworld.
He was very good in Waterworld.
He's out of here.
He's livid at the Nikos in the chat is giving a shout out to Falcon. I watched the Bo Burnham show on Netflix and I lolled a lot. You weren't here last week, Val, but me and
no, but Pete, I watched it.
But me and the Pete had a kind of a bet at the end that he might have watched some of Peep Show. I don't imagine. Tin Cup is also a great film, Jimmy Connis. Great shout on Tin Cup. Very good.
I based a lot of my life on Tin Cup.
Just keep trying. Just keep swinging, regardless.
Break everything that you got except for the garden tools. That's what I learned from Tin Cup.
So that's kind of the question.
That's a glass of vodka, everybody.
Yeah. Did you watch Peep Show, Pete?
What?
Did you watch Peep Show?
Yeah. Yes.
Shit.
Hey, when I was scrolling through things to watch on Amazon Prime, I saw Wayne. I witnessed that Wayne exists.
Mm-hmm.
And you skipped it, didn't you?
Well, I mean,
You son of a gun.
Good day. How you do? I've been working my way through Better Call Saul. After this will be Wayne.
Okay, that's fair. I guess.
If it makes you feel better, I read a third of the Peep Show Wikipedia article.
Not what I wanted at all.
I got to the end of the main and recurring cast, and I was like, this is going to be good. And I never thought about it again until you just asked me.
Shit. Okay, all right. So we must constantly... Twitch audience, YouTube audience, podcast audience, continuously tweet Pete about watching Peep Show. And then also, you got a shout out from Nikos in the chat who said he loved Bo Burnham. So if
so good, so depressing.
I watched it. Yeah,
it hurt my soul, but it felt so good. Such a good show.
Yeah. He just released one of the tracks off of it, like he does a song, and I can't even remember. It was like
Welcome to the Internet.
Yes. Absolutely staggering and beautiful. And about halfway through, I was like, he's doing this alone in his apartment. Because I had no context for it. I just clicked on it.
It's an amazing special. Welcome to the Internet's great. White Woman on the Internet. Or White Woman on Instagram, also great. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff.
I'm in.
Talking about white women on the Internet, let's talk about white men on the Internet. How did people respond to the new Ork Boys? How do you feel about it? I feel that worked. That's generally
I feel like you almost segued properly.
Yeah.
We went off the road for a minute, and then you were like, well, we'll correct course somehow, I'm sure.
I feel like there's 40K stuff I'd want to talk about today, so I'm in. Let's go on this journey.
Go on. Take us through. Me and Pete will react. Go host us. I kind of want to ask you about your shows, but anyway, we've somehow
go ahead.
hit that.
What you got?
I just want to know what you started. A little bit of I'm going to say heavy license with The Thursday Show. Pretty bold to take up a whole day. Let's call it that.
I was scared for a second that your show on Thursday was called The Thursday Show.
Yeah. You didn't check.
Is it?
Is it? But no.
Are you actually The Thursday Show?
No. We're the 40K Spy Center now forever. I'm rebranding it like officially. That's the name of the show.
because my stomach is falling out of the bottom of my butt. The answer on that was I wanted to call it something like cool and like strategery, like well everyone poo-pooed it, but I wanted to call it state of play, and I thought that'd be fun. LGN state of play, because then they come in, they do their analysis for the weekend, and it would be like stuff that Pete would call stupid, and then we would have like sort of like a serious show, and then there are a bunch of bros on that damn show, and they're like, no, that's stupid. No one knows what state of play means. I'm like, what? And then they're like, we want Thursday show. I was like, what? And then they demanded it be called the Thursday show. So it's the Thursday show.
Yep.
And then we tried to do some stuff with the overlay, and we'll work on it. I like the TVs, the bar room wall of TVs idea, but we got to move the camera a little better.
Hey, do you want some constructive feedback? Or
Please.
Just positive feedback? Because I'll give you positive feedback all day.
No, I don't want your lies.
Oh.
I don't want your lies. This is the honest.
I don't think you want the
Wargamer.
truth either, pal. I mean, whenever I tell you anything I believe, you're just like, well, fuck off.
You don't tell me the truth, Pete.
All the time. I'm like, you're like, hey, did you watch the show? And I'm like, nope. And then you get real sad.
That's Rob. You're confusing me with Rob.
I don't get sad about it. I'm persistent. It's been a year of me pushing Pete. So far, I've got on Peep Show, I've got him into a third of a Wikipedia article. That is another step. This is me tin-cupping my way through life, Val. Let's go back, yeah? It's another strike.
Like I say, you gotta all you got is a 7-iron. You're gonna get through. All right, here we go. I'm ready for my constructive criticism. Let me get adjusted here in my chair.
The overlay looked like the poster advert for Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, perfect. That's not even an insult.
Okay. All right. You take that how you want to take it.
I thought you were going to be mean. You give me a compliment? Amazing.
That's as far as I'll go with it. I don't know what you Pete, what did you think of the TV overlay?
He has a TV overlay?
I adjusted our overlay today. I actually expanded how big the crew is on the screen.
Yeah.
Some people may
it looks
not
real clean, actually. This is the opposite. This is very clean and uncluttered.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. I went for that, but anyway. Okay.
I don't care about how things look. I just care about the content. And Adam, Alan, and Paul are really good at talking, and that makes me happy. So I'm told that it's super ugly. It's fine by me.
Yeah,
look,
that's true.
I had the one show that I've invested in is tonight. It's Grim After Dark. It was actually designed by somebody. And I hope it's actually good content as well. We'll have Brad Chester on as the first guest ever on it. It's hosted by... He's the guy who won Atlantic City Open, and he's a pretty good Warhammer player. And it's hosted by John and Danny, who are
from
Mob Rules. They're still doing Mob Rules.
Yeah. And Mog Rules. Mog Rules. Yeah, the Final Fantasy show.
They're funny guys, and they're not mean. And that's what's important, is they're not mean.
I don't know if that's true, but I mean...
You hit part of it. Wait, are they doing something called Grim Dark After Dark? Wait, what's
Grim After Dark?
The Grim After Dark.
Grim After Dark, and they're really nice. Is it like a comedy thing? Like a
Yeah. They are very nice fellows.
Where's the
Danny
Grim
looks like a potato.
Where's the Grim bit fill in?
I think it's just like a 40K.
I think it was just supposed to be. It's just a play. It's like a late night theme show. That's all. It's like a late night theme. You know, you have that. You guys have like you sent James Corbin over here, and I think he's
yeah, like we sent prisoners over to Australia. That sort of seems.
There does seem to be one guy who's always in YouTube clips who I think is a late night host in the UK, and he always has like 4 celebrities on like a bus stop bench. Is that Graham Norton?
Who's a fucking treasure.
Whoa,
I like him.
Easy.
I think he's okay.
Looks like I found. I don't
know if he's been on Peep Show before. I'm not seeing it in this article.
Okay, what 40K stuff did you want to talk about? You had some. It sounded like you had something, some hot goss.
Did I? I think I also said James Corbin.
Yeah, not the politician though. You meant the comedian Corden.
Yeah, he's the next.
Corden. There you go.
Corden. Gordon, he's the next. He's the next guy that's going to get Ellen DeGeneres, or however you get it.
You think he's mean? You think he's actually mean? He's fake nice.
Yeah, he's a mean girl.
That's too bad.
That's okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm actually not mean. Pete and Rob, yes, they are very mean. That's clear, I think.
So did you know that the theme tune for the first series was an original composition by Daniel Pemberton and is featured on his TV pop music album and can be heard on his MySpace page? Didn't even know that still existed. From the second series onwards, the theme music is the song Flagpole Sitta by the American band Harvey Danger. Little known fact, Flagpole Sitta, one of my favorite songs of all time. So continue.
You're gonna really enjoy Peep Show, Pete. That's all I'm gonna say.
Like now that I know that it's Flagpole Sitta, I'm gonna. I have 8 tweets since you said this.
Are you a big Harvey Danger fan?
You're fucked, Pete. If I rally Twitter,
my DMs are just please watch Peep Show, but it's all Nikos, so I can just block him and I'll be okay. So I think we'll be fine.
Second person to block.
I just want to say that shout out to Fat Dingo, who's in the chat right now, also known as Richard Hughes, who's been the guy responsible for things like the overlay and actually making sure that these shows actually happen at all. Rob.
Fat Dingo, don't be mad at me. Like, it's not my... Don't be mad at me. He's the creative director. He said I want it to look like TVs. You did that. That's not on you. Okay? There's a whole bunch of faux pas that occur from creative directors. Yeah? You're just the fingers.
Yep.
No, he's actually if we had a minute of content, it's because Rich helped so much. And
go Rich. Big shout out Rich. Big love.
Massive.
Was he on the phone with you the other
day? Yeah, Rich was on the phone. Yeah, we never solved that, by the way. The audio is still screwed. Anyway, let's move on from technical directing. Let's talk about Ork Boys, huh?
Yeah, okay. What do you want to say about Ork Boys?
Let's talk about it.
I don't know. I'm excited. I think it's awesome. They look about... I don't know. They look like they're not going to be towering over existing boys. We'll have to see.
They look like they're the same size. They're just not bow-legged. Like that's literally looks to be like the only thing is they put their knees together. They had some kind of like rock between the knees scenario done to them to fix their posture. That's really about it.
Yeah. I mean, they just look better.
Yep. I like it. I'm into it. I'm going to buy 30 for sure.
Not to be insightful in any way, but do you feel like it might be a tad disingenuous of Games Workshop to have shown us the profiles of the Snagger Boys and then indeed the Ork Boys, but having shown the old Ork Boy, maybe encouraging people to pick up old Ork Boys before they then show us the new Ork Boys? You think that maybe, or just some clerical errors by an overexcited intern pushing the buttons on the $1 million company's advertising page? One of the two.
I don't think there would be a conspiracy there, Rob.
Okay,
I think that they like to release things in an unusual way, very slow drip.
Well, I'm very excited about the Ork Boys. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say they have confirmed that our box set with the Beast Snag is pre-ordering in July.
July, yep. I'm excited. Cool. In 3 weeks, I'm going to be all in on trying to get one of those.
Yes.
Maybe. Yep.
The Beast Snagger box, same. I would. Yeah. Although, I'm a little bit concerned that I might be paying for the book as well as the model, so I might hold off. Ultimately,
yeah. You don't want to offend your principals.
Well, no, I just more mean that the book isn't like I assume the book is gonna get updated or changed, or I don't know what the situation is. But the model, I'd like. What I'm saying is, I'd like pure money for model conversion as opposed to any like book sort of stonks involved in my money. So I'm hoping it's slower.
But Rob.
Yeah.
But Rob, you mean you don't want a limited edition Ork Codex?
Have you got one?
This isn't the new one. This is the sucker edition from the last time around. So you better believe I'm throwing some good money after bad.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. limited
Are we all
edition
going to be
codex.
Ork players? Pete, are you going to play Orks?
I mean, I've dropped probably like $500 on Orcs in the last 2 weeks, so I hope so.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm very excited about that. That's fun. This could just show in, if you want, you could just turn the show into a Ork Tactica show every week.
No.
It's not our style.
We would actually have to have good Orc players to do that.
Oh, who could we have?
Yeah.
Thanks for resubscribing, OJ. Happy Tuesday.
Although Rich is a mailman. I mean, he's probably awake, in time to do the show.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably delivering mail as we speak.
We just have him on an earpiece as he's like whistling his way through his route,
Fighting off dogs.
To everyone.
Yep.
Getting chased by dogs.
Well, there's an interesting kind of conversation with the Snagger Boys box and also the Ork Codex, because another thing maybe you want to talk about is the official Games Workshop event pack has been announced.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let's kick us off. Val, you seem excited. What do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about how much I really, really love it.
Okay.
I'm pleased that I don't know, but obviously this is a Mike Brandt joint, or at least very, very heavily influenced by him. I would assume
it's at least
written by
him.
It's very on brand. And Pete described it as basically the Nova pack somewhere, but I don't know how accurate that really is, because I feel like he's evolved some of his stances since Nova. I feel like there's a lot more on conduct in there. You don't think so? He doesn't think so. All right, please take it away and disagree with him, Pete.
I just think that it's the Nova pack, but like with a little bit of filter in for GW. That's it. But I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not actually mad. I'm super happy about it, because we went from having nothing to having something. And it's the thing we've been asking for like a year and a half. And I don't think it's terrible at all. I think the terrain layout, some people are a little confused because they look like either super thick or super sparse, depending on who you talk to. I think they're going to be just fine. We've seen pictures of Mike Brandt's table, which is, in case you didn't know, exactly like the layout for shown in the descriptor. And it's hard to say. We'll have to see how it actually plays, but I think it's going to be fine. I think that for what I expected, and maybe my expectations were too low, I think it will work. I like most of the conduct stuff they've added. It's mostly common sense situation, like, hey, this is what we're going to do, possible exceptions. The fact they had to put in a rule to make Jim Vessel relevant again, little disappointing. That one I didn't think needed to be in there. But other than that, yeah, like I'm actually happy with the whole thing. Okay. If I wasn't so tired, like I'd be a little more jovial. But like, yeah, I think it's a big deal for us to have something like this. Anything at all.
So for some context for some people out there, Games Workshop is running a series of tournaments in the USA. And what they've done is they've put like specifically 3. These are their roadshow events, and they've put out a tournament pack, as you would do if you're running a tournament. What's a big deal about this, obviously, is this Games Workshop's first official tournament pack outside of Warhammer World, which everyone in the whole world ignored. So it's kind of like the first kind of like look at what maybe official tournaments might look like, and obviously then that gets thrown against like standard tournaments. So I'd like to ask you two about what differences are there between what you consider to be a standard ITC, maybe FLG as the standard maybe tournament, if they're not the standard. Generally, what differentials are there between the two at the moment? Like, is there like what are for the audience? What's the standard and what's the difference? Go on, Val.
I'd say that this is much more robust. I would say that they cover a lot more ground in this than a lot of tournament packs do. I think especially with regards to conduct, judging calls, that's been beefed up a bit compared to other places. One concern I have with the way they've worded it is, for example, they've sort of gone with the mentioning of penalties and ramifications for going offside of rules or doing things out of line. But it's all judges' discretion, which is the first step. I think that's okay, and they maybe will have an internal way of making those calls, but they haven't gone with an attempt at like codified rules of conduct like ITC has done. And honestly, at the stage that we're at, I'm not sure that it's not the better way to do it, because it's very hard. We don't have like professional judging or really a really heavily tested series of conduct policies. Like there is the ITC code of conduct, but it's still pretty unwieldy.
I mean, the ITC code of conduct is like, please just be nice to each other. Like it's 2 pages of that, right? Like it's very wishy-washy.
The ITC code of conduct? Have you looked at it?
Like, yes, I have, and I just wish that it was more direct in many more ways.
Well, it's pretty granular. Like it's more than 2 pages, and there's a lot of like, you cannot. This is what a dice foul is, and subsection -2. It tries really hard to be like the rules of golf or like the rules of soccer, but I don't think it's just there yet. It needs work. Also, if you were to try and enforce it to the letter, be very difficult because no one's really aware of it. So I think having explicit judges' discretion is good. I think it's amazing that, for example, they have a basing policy for 40K here from Games Workshop. That hasn't happened before. In fact, I've heard things like "will never happen," and they haven't said that you can't use models that are on the wrong basis, but you do have to get them approved. So there's the opportunity to say no.
Thanks to the Essex hobbyist for being here, but also to Gus the Hutt for raiding us. I think you two, like, there's a lot of minutia like that we can discuss through the terrain, the fact that you can only have minis from Games Workshop, obviously, like, which is fair, obviously, because it's their own event. But there's a lot that to talk about, because. And I think that they've been really specific. I know you guys were talking before. I think they've been very specific with you can't, so they've got some leeway to be like, oh, you kind of can, but like, if you can't from the back, you can kind of drop down. But I kind of want to reference, I think, this in terms we can all understand, because I think that's one of the things we get lost in sometimes when we're all 3 of us are so heavily involved in it. You 2 have watched Derry Girls, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I like where this is going. Go ahead.
Okay, good. This is something we can all understand. So, in Derry Girls, there's your central cast who you want to hang out with and they're super fun. And then there's not protagonist, but then there's the girl in the school who gets on really well, tries to get on really well. She's the head girl. And she's always reporting them for doing this wrong or doing that wrong. Do you know the one I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I imagine that the difference between going to a Games Workshop event and an independent event is going to her parties, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's like being best friends with a teacher at school and doesn't sound fun. I guess it's like a cheese and wine evening at parents' evening. And I get that there's a lot of parents who play Warhammer, and I get there's a lot of adults like who have kids. But honestly, that sounds fucking awful. Is the only way I can describe it. It sounds like hanging out with your mum and dad when you're 14. You want to go away for the weekend and you want to have a laugh, and then there's a fucking bunch of adults in the room. They're like, well, maybe you can't have a laugh. And you're like, well, this fucking sucks, man. And that's all I can think about. Yeah, they just sound wank.
See, well, you go to a lot of like actual Warhammer World events, so I can't comment on that. But that's my point. They fucking suck. You have to like, if you ever roll. I'm a very vocal person, so like sometimes you got that one save you need to make to win the game. You roll it's a 1. You're like fuck, and then but like they're like, oh, you're not swearing here, please. I'm like, everyone here is like 30, so loud.
Everyone here is 30 years old. Like who am I offending? Like what the hell?
For the record, I do not see any comments in here about prior restraint, which the Supreme Court has roundly rejected in the United States many times, as the subject has told us. So I don't think you have to necessarily worry about it too much at these events, Rob. I would say that to immediately criticize them about being a bit square with their rules pack when I've been begging the world to please be more square and specific in rules and policies around tournament play so that we can be a bit more serious about it, I think I'd be a huge hypocrite. So that's why I'm very much in support of this.
Hey, I understand your feelings. I just think, like Monica Geller says, Val, you're on her side. There's no fun without rules, is there? The rules make it more fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been a long long road though of like getting there with this game and these events. I think like even just let me look at that is 7th edition was just actively no, we're not gonna do rules. Original AOS, we're not gonna do rules. Yeah, just figure it out. And now we're here, and it's just really nice. And I only feel like kudos are deserved. And they're gonna do these. They're gonna knock out these 3 events, and then hopefully, you'll have road shows in the UK and in North America. There'll be merry bands and circuses traveling all over. We'll all be holding hands, skipping, singing songs, right, guys?
Yeah, they do that at church too, but I don't go there either. Falcon.
Yes, hello.
How do you feel about it? Like the tournament pack as is. Is there anything that stands out to you as like contrary to independent events that you enjoy?
Sorry, I broke. I think there's stuff that's contrary, but I expected. Their way of dealing with time is 100% like the Nova way of dealing with time, where they just like yell time at you. And then, but like to people, like if you talk to anybody that's actually attended Nova, they say it actually generally works out. Basically everybody else in the world has moved to chess clocks, or just accepted that they're gonna have their games all slow played. So like I really wish that we could have acknowledged chess clocks in the pack. That's just something, even if to just say like, hey, if it's really bad, we're gonna put one on, instead of being like, we'll figure something out. Like that would have been something I would have loved to have seen in that pack. But overall, I don't really have too like Val. Like I think it's not a home run, but it's like an inside the park. It's a double. They banged one off the wall. I'll give it to them. I'm happy.
Can we translate that to European?
It's like when you're playing cricket and you hit a hole in one.
Exactly.
You just
you run between those 2 points on the field really fast.
Classic
take a 7-iron
by
and
a
hit a
city
97.
I imagine you'd be a bowler with a googly ball, Pete.
Yep.
Is what I imagine. Is how I imagine you'd bowl.
I'd put tar all over that sucker.
I'm getting shredded right now by chat for being happy about this. Well, that's fine, you guys. I still love things. Still a heart that beats passionately in here.
There's a heart that beats passionately inside me as well. I've just been to Warhammer World events. I've been at events where time is called, like Pete says, and it sucks. But I also kind of agree with Sir Callum that I think personal responsibility needs to be something that's pushed out more. I really don't understand why we don't have more like rugby refs at events like Neil. I think that's one of the reasons I think Neil, Kerr, and also WTC has a good system. Let me just finish my point. Is because like Neil is an ex-rugby player, and rugby lads don't fuck about. They're like, you listen to the coach and you shut the fuck up. You listen to the ref and you don't like. There's no arguing. Like if you start arguing with the rugby ref, the other players on your team tell you to shut the fuck up. It's not hockey. Yeah, it's not like I don't know, like getting I don't know American sports, not getting in the umpire's face on the linesman. It's what the fuck do they have in hockey? Like the hockey guys are like,
ref. You don't argue with a ref. You
guys are like, you two fight, and they're like, all right. Fine. What is that? As a sport?
It's strange. It's less. It happens less from what I understand. I don't watch hockey. Oh crap! Where was I going to go with this? Oh, what I was going to say is actually, Rob, I think this approach to judging is a lot closer to the way WTC does it.
Okay.
Which in that it's a lot more like we're going to put all of our trust in referees, really, who are going to try and make calls and common sense reactions to the scenarios as they appear, rather than having judges who have a series of rules that they judge whether or not you're breaking them. I don't know. I don't know which one. As the game evolves, I think eventually we will go more and more towards actually codified rules if it gets more and more serious, because you just have to, because you'll just be inconsistent within the event with how you make judge calls, and they're very explicit about that. That each ruling is its own thing, right? So everything is its own thing. You cannot, if something happened over here and we rule it differently over here, that's just the way it is. And that's how some games are done. And I think that's fine because they've at least committed to a direction. They've addressed conduct. It's not just like everyone be nice. Personal responsibility, guys. I've seen that in the chat. Doesn't work. We're not personally responsible. We're human beings. We're stupid monkeys. We're going to like be jerks to each other. We're going to use too much time on purpose or by accident. So like, I think this personal responsibility stuff society teaches us is not a thing. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's really cool. I agree the chess clocks thing would be great. List submissions would be great, but these are things that
is it lists on the day?
It's lists on the day.
Lists on the day. Bring 9 paper copies.
Bring 9 paper copies. These are.
Hold on. So sorry. The 9 paper copies are outputted from where? Like how are they? How is the formatting? Because like Val, I know one of your things. One of the things that you push for a lot is standardized formatting of event lists.
Sure.
Specifically because that helps your friend Pete out, my friend Pete out. Like, so like, what is the formatting for these paper lists? Can I write my list on 9 napkins?
The answer is no.
Oh, what do we use?
But actually, so continue here because I want to read the wording on it because I think it's clever. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, I mean, it's just that they recommend the 40K app, but you can just do whatever. Honestly.
Oh, that's good. It's good that you could do whatever, so you can use Battlescrap.
Yeah, like they're just like bring 9 copies of your list. We recommend using the 40K app. If you're looking, you need to have the most up-to-date rules, which you will find on the 40K app. Unfortunately, not 100%, but they're getting there.
Army lists should be presented in an easy-to-read format, such as Army lists exported from Battleforge and Warhammer 40,000, the app. So, such as, not must be, which wouldn't surprise me. Honestly, wouldn't be mad about it if it was accurate and worked properly.
List on the day is the worst, though. Yes.
Yeah, not a big fan. Not a big fan of lists on the day. But both lists on the day and chess clocks, these are like very Mike Brandt things. These are things that he really believes in. What's the
cutoff day on the rules, then?
That's all explicit. I think 2 weeks.
Oh, that's good.
Publication date of August 7th. Actually, that's not 2 weeks. Let's see here. August 7th. So that's 1 week.
That's tight.
That's tight.
That's super tight. That's a week tighter than most big events. So.
But then you end up with events like you had at the weekend, ACO, where like they were all operating under. It was a large scale event, but they were all operating under old FAQ stuff, were they not?
Yeah, so they went with a 3 week cutoff, which is kind of like par for the course for these big events. We saw it with Nova, the last Nova, where they didn't use the Space Marine supplement, even though it was about a month old when it happened. Usually LVO holds to 3 weeks, although they usually will allow FAQs almost right up to the date unless it forces list changes, which is kind of what happened here, and why they chose not to go with it was because of the sweeping point changes they got in FAQs that they wouldn't have gotten normally in the past to fix Drukhari. So I understood that one. A 1 week cutoff is very interesting because by then there is no FAQ for anything. I'm curious. We'll see. I mean, the benefit here is they know their codex release schedule, so theoretically they won't drop a codex like 8 days before the event. So,
aren't the dates set in stone and the schedule mutable?
I would say that I wouldn't be. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some awkward releases, nonetheless, because obviously these two schedules.
They didn't do that. I would hope. I just want them to not.
It'd be nice if they didn't.
They have the ability.
What I've been trying to say is that the chess clocks thing and the no list submission things, these are closely held positions by the TO Mike Brandt, or like the global events coordinator Mike Brandt. I argued with him about these things the last time Nova happened gently on Stat Center. I let him explain his position on Stat Center. But privately, I've argued with him about this. They're just things that he really, really believes. And up until Pete really was kind of standard. I mean, until there was a group on the internet publicly shaming people so that we could actually get the information and data accurately and efficiently, even in advance sometimes. There was no list submission in North America in advance. It was day of. Like, people would tweak until the last second. And that was normal. So this is a bit of a throwback to that. It's a step backwards, I think. Hopefully in time, the same thing will happen. People will say, no, we want to have hopefully list submissions become an important thing, and eventually they do it. Because if people want it, they'll do it. And I think that's why it's happened elsewhere.
I hope that they're just fun for everyone involved. I hope everyone has really nice times, like having a great time. That's what I hope. And I think that the packs should be trying to create that, which I can kind of see why list submission is on the day. If you're just pandering to the crowd, makes it much easier for them. If you don't care about the validity of the results, it doesn't really matter, right? You're like, is someone going to check all 9 copies of those paper printouts? Of course not. They're not, so it's very abusable there. But that isn't the point that they're trying to stop. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to create a sport or create a serious tournament circuit. They're putting on an event for people to show their gorgeous little models and run around shouting things like "War" and "For the Emperor" and "Death to the Heretics" and all that other jazz while wearing cargo shorts and sandals. That's what they're there for. They're there for the adventure.
No. I couldn't disagree with you more here, Rob. I'm so happy. This is normally me yelling at Spice Center, but I'm here. But I can't disagree with you more, because if that was true, this would not be the pack. If that was true, you wouldn't have a bracket set up so that you have one sole winner at the end. You wouldn't. So this is the frustration that Pete and I have always had about Nova, is that structurally it's one of the most competitively set up events that there is. They have standardized terrain. They have things in place to try and make, they always get to one winner. These are unique things that out of its time. It's win-loss, not battle points. There are all these things that we take for granted now that Nova has done for a very long time. It was set up very competitively, and then there are a few last steps that they have to take, I think, to get there. But this is set up as an actual tournament. There's nothing flaky about this pack setup.
Well, they all are, right?
What do you mean? Like all competitive tournaments are flaky?
All events are set up as competitive events.
You just said that this is so that everyone plays with their pretty models and their toys.
That's what I think. That's what I think about most events anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, that's what I think I started this with. This pack is actually more robust and more detailed than a lot of current tournament packs.
My point was that things like lists on the day and chess clocks and other stuff it scares off the crowd, and the crowd is what creates the groundswell for ticket sales and is what makes you be able to host events. You're selling McDonald's food. You're not selling top tier food. That's not what you have. Maybe a guy, a cordon bleu chef or whatever the fuck they're called, turns up and gets himself a Big Mac every now and again. Mm-hmm. But it's mainly for your Big Mac eaters, is what it is. Although they do a really great veggie sandwich if anyone's interested.
Filet of fish, if you're Episcopalian or whatever they call it.
Isn't that a religion?
Pescopalian? Pescopalian? What is the word? Episcopalian?
That's
Epistle
fucking
piece.
Great. Clip that.
Epistolary.
That was a fucking amazing line.
What's the word? Rob, what's the word? Pescatarian.
Pescatarian?
You're right.
Yeah.
I did combine that with Episcopalian?
Just stop.
That was fucking great. I love that. All right. Pete, you looked at the terrain pack. Did you have any thoughts on that? Because I loved it, personally.
I loved it just because it's an example that I've been asking for a year and a half. That's it.
Same.
Yeah. There are people out there that are saying it looks too thick just based off of the top-down view they've given, because the 4 large ruins, they do look massive. But there's a picture circulating now of Mike Brandt's table, which, like I've said earlier in the show, is like a carbon copy of what the setup is, and you can see it's not. It almost looks like it's barren, but he's got these glass basings to all the ruins, which gives them a wider presence. The real big thing will just be seeing it in practice more than anything. Just get it out there, get the practice. But the fact that we got anything is a beautiful thing to me, and we'll just have to see how it actually plays. I'm actually relatively confident this will be fine. I feel, for everything I've disagreed with Mike Brandt on, I feel like he knows what a table should look like to play. And that's my hope, at least. So I'm all in for this. I'm all in for having like an example of what they think is the way to go. And the fact that they're, at least being like, this isn't how everybody should play, but this is how we do it. I'm okay with it, because at least we have kind of like a baseline. And that's a big deal, especially after seeing the tables at ACO, because I think for the most part, other than one or two setups, they were pretty barren for 9th edition. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like it's the FLG terrain sets, and I think they need to be updated for 9th. There were a couple of them that were already pretty lax from an 8th edition standpoint, and the way 9th is, like, it's going to lead to feel bads at lower tables, so and higher tables, in my opinion. So
okay, that's rubbish. I didn't know that. I saw some pictures, but I was like, oh, okay, like that doesn't look like a lot, but.
It's one of those things where you really, like, one thing they do, which is great in the GW pack, is they state, like, depending on your deployment, the terrain shifts, and they have the 2 examples. I'm wondering if there's going to be more, but like that is something you really should be doing with 9th edition because of the different deployment styles. Unless you're going to build a terrain setup that's so thick you don't have to, being able to just shift terrain even slightly to afford better deployments is like really key in this edition. So. That's something that I'm really hopeful for the next FLG tournament that they put together. Like, hey, if you're running on this table, everything shifts 45 degrees or whatever if you're on this mission. Something like that, on top of adding like 2 decent-sized bits to each table. I think that would help a lot.
That's fair.
I just want to ask, am I having a fever dream, or was that LVO 2020 where they did have like shifting, like they had shifting?
Yes, the last LVO
terrain?
they. For the top 100 tables, they had examples of how the terrain needed to look for the different missions, for the different deployments. Yep.
Okay. I thought I remember that, but
which was what I was hoping they would have done for this.
For ACO.
For ACO, and it didn't happen. Whatever. It'll be hopefully something that gets corrected. I do think that's an integral part of this edition right now. But we're not really here to talk about ACO. This pack, I don't know if I just can reiterate. I like it. No chess clocks. Little sad. I see some people in chat being like, I don't understand why you need chess clocks. It helps. But the Nova thing, if you've been to Nova, it does generally work. Being able to just shout out like, hey, you're supposed to be on round 3. If you're on round 1 still, like get an adult type thing. Mm-hmm. It generally is going to work out just fine. Yeah,
they had chess. See, I think at Nova they finally did have chess clocks back pocket for if they showed up.
They did,
and you were behind.
So they had it in the pack. If you were behind by a certain amount, you could request a chess clock, or judge's discretion. They would put one on the table and split the time evenly for the remainder of the round if you asked for it. But this one just doesn't like have that in there at all. It's fine. I'm hopeful that in the future that'll get added, or maybe this will just work. We'll not have any issues and everything will be beautiful.
So we had a couple of issues at Super Series with games going to time. There's some good conversations on whether or not it was a mechanics issue or whether or not it was a player issue. Me and Dan, who I had actively judging the last round, so for the final, which is obviously only like 4 games, but had a judge for all 4 games, which I thought was pretty decent. And Dan's also going to be a judge for the Age of Sigmar Six Nations, so he's got some good credos. And we had like a big long kind of like debrief after me and Owen and a bunch of other TOs and the guys running the event, which was a really fun time. And it's really nice doing it on a really small scale because you don't have to worry about like trying to manage hundreds. You're like, what does this look like on a small scale? How does it work? And what do we need to do? And even in that setting, we were like, cool. After round 1, if any of the players don't make it around by finish round 4, we're going to note it down. And then the next one, they're just going to be like, if that persists, so there's only 3 games as well. If that persists for any other time, they're just going to be docked points, just end conversation. And as simple as that, because that player is then at fault. And then that applies to everyone because you can't just like my in singles events. My 100% feeling is you just say you guys both lose this match 0-0. Fuck off. Like that's why I think in singles events, I think that's just quick and easy. You're like, oh, that really detracts for top players who play against a baby seal. But I don't know why you're making them play seals anyway. So like,
that's true.
Why are you giving them a free win? Like their path to victory should be the hardest possible path to victory, which is again why I think all competitive events and the large scale that we see them in, Val, just to kind of like re-round to my point, is I think that they're just beer and pretzel events. I think that there are a whole bunch of sharks at the beer and pretzels events, don't get me wrong, that would kick my ass at 40k or Age of Sigmar all day. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like, I want to be super clear about that. But, like, they're beer and pretzels events because you need as many numbers as you can, because the business structure of it is you need as many people as possible to make it really viable. That's what you're doing.
They're open events. So, like, I think they're literally open events. So, but they're also unseated, which I think, honestly, it should be that the better you are, the like worst you should be guaranteed an early round easy win in an open event, based on some sort of seeding mechanism. I think that'd be great. But I couldn't agree with you more on that front. That events right now have reached probably like in this style. This is about as far in the line. This is about as serious as you can get. And I think to actually add like real competitive constraints to it, you're right. We need to probably like boil down the player pool, find a different model, which is why I've always been super supportive and think you're on the right path by creating the broadcast to attract the good players and add that like more serious format on top, because I think that's probably the path to having really serious tight events. Or it's a path. But these are opens, right? So you're going to have that mix, and so compromise will be there.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, going with a potted system helps a little bit with this. You have to, know that your day one is going to be quite possibly like a seal kicking if you're a top level player. But then when your day two, once they pod you with 16 or 15 other players that have a similar win path and record as you, that tightens things up. It depending on how big these events get, like it works very well. We'll just have to wait and see like how big they make it, because there does come a point where there's very diminishing returns on using a pod system. So
wait, can you go? So I've never actually played at an event with a pod system. Can you briefly just like what is the pro and con? Actually, I have played Warzone Atlanta, which they don't do pods. They do it for like prizing at the end, so you actually are still just playing whoever you would play. But pods are pretty controversial, and I think they're a way to sort of address what Rob's talking about. So why is there diminishing returns on it?
So diminishing returns is look at like a 600 player event like LVO, right? Mm-hmm. You can play 5 games at LVO in a row and never once play somebody on your level because there's so many people there. So even if you have
3-1 ones,
it's like having like the same win path and record as somebody at an event that large, like just like the mathematics on it, it will eventually, like, you'll have a decent amount of people that they have to wait till they get to like that shadow round before they play their first player that may be on par with them. Mm-hmm. But like a 256 player event, where you've kind of hit that key number that you want to have, where you can do 4 rounds and then you can assume that most of the players in your pod are going to be of an equal measure, it generally works out, right? So this kind of style of day one, it's an open, you play 4 games, you get your record, and then you get dumped into a 16-player bracket, and then that kind of ekes itself out afterwards. It generally works. I would love to see it be more like a 5-game before you get potted. I think that would help a little bit in this regard. But like there's it's symmetrical this way, doing 4 and 4. So
another. Go ahead.
No, go on. Mine's mine's a bigger kind of rounder point as opposed to like following this on.
So actually, there's also another thing that I think they're doing here, and actually, Warzone Atlanta is also doing something similar to try and have cake and eat too, which is in this one basically the last 2 games are only for best general consideration. Mm-hmm. And like everything for like your normie really concludes at the end of day 2. So after your 6 games, which is still a big tournament, right? And then if you want to, make a run at winning your pod or winning best general, you play on 2 more games on Sunday. Whereas in Atlanta is doing this thing where on Friday, basically you buy an extra ticket to compete for best general, and you play on Friday. So everyone who wants to actually play the full slate of games plays instead early, and you add your wins from that day to your win total coming into the weekend. It doesn't change anything other than that. So basically anyone who goes 3-0 on that day is now in contention to potentially win best general going through the weekend, which is another interesting way to do it. I think the best way, of course, is to have different tournaments for different skill sets. But
we have to implement an ELO system, I think, for that to work. It's a whole thing, which is easy,
totally technically feasible. But
So this doesn't help the point you were just talking about, but it does help the kind of chess conversation which I saw Gitley having in the chat, because he's quite against it. Honestly, I just don't know why rounds aren't longer and armies aren't smaller. Like for a comp army, if I honestly
it won't matter,
thought,
unfortunately.
Well,
but anyway,
I'd like to hear why. Honestly, I would. Yeah, cause I just don't know why it's not just 1,500 points. And I get why it's not. People just want their toys or whatever. Yeah, and that's the standard. But it just seems unmanageable in some situations. And I honestly, if you were being what's best for the customer, I just think they'd have a more fun time with 1,500 points. Simple as. I think you can play games fast, but I don't think so many. Again, are you running an event or are you running a sport? I spoke to the guys in the briefing the other day. I was like, look, lads, this isn't just a final for a thing for you guys. We're trying to set a benchmark for an audience and also for people to kind of know what's going on. This is very, very important that all of you pull your weight and you be serious. Dan ran around and was like, look, you got to finish your games. You got to do this. Whatever the situation, all that stuff, very practical and important. But honestly, if the games were 1,500 points, I doubt we'd have had to put much push in there at all. I really do. I think that the game, it's kind of the parameters. Anyway, that's my point. I was just gonna say it's like engineering parameters, right? They're like this is the safety standard, here, and then everyone's like, what if I just push it right to the safety standard? And it's no, put it below the safety. Operate at 80%, not 100%. Basically, is what I'm kind of thinking. Pete, why do you not think lowering the points would help?
Because people are people, and it doesn't matter. We've seen it in the past. It will help the 80%, right? But the 80% aren't why we have the chess clocks. They never were, right?
Oh, okay.
The chess clocks are there for people that abuse the system more than anything else, and for that small few that don't understand how long it takes to when they're shooting the shit, right?
Okay.
There's this whole concept of time where when you're doing something you don't realize how much you're using, right? So there's a lot of people that don't realize when they're standing there staring at a model and talking about their last Saturday night that they've plowed through 15 minutes, right, trying to make a decision, and the chess clock reminds them of that. That the other big thing is that there are players who will very much abuse time if they have the option, and it's not there are so many examples of it, even at big events where you can just watch a stream where it gets to round 3 and you just know that it didn't have to. It could have gone much longer, and if somebody had been able to clock that person, it would have helped a lot. Because oftentimes the second person, the person that's not wasting time, sorry, there's a mosquito right in my face and it's fucking bothering the shit out of me. They just don't notice, right? They don't understand. There is a level of play where you just don't understand, and then you end up getting this guy that's well, I know that if I can make this, and they used to be open about it before we started chess clocks. People would openly say, I know the only way I'm going to win this game is if it ends on round 4.
Yep.
So we're playing for round 4. And then they just do things to make the game go longer, and it's shitty. And then you apply the chess clock. And here's the thing, you don't need a chess clock at every table. I don't even think that's true. I think you could, if you know what you're there for, that's fine. If we move to a spot where every game is competitive, I think a lot of us kind of want to have this, like Val said, a separation of open versus invitational style events, then it's not as big a deal, because you can just chess clock all of the really competitive guys, and all the people that are there for fun don't need it.
Isn't that weird though?
Fundamentally, though, I think that is what already happens at events. Just because there's chess clocks on the table, guys, like people who are there and don't want the stress, or like just don't care that much if it doesn't go the distance. And if they win, then they just don't bother using the clock, right? And that's fine. I think what needs to be there though is if one side, for example, in that event, in that situation where it's like a player who's there to actually try and win versus a player who maybe doesn't know what they're doing, or is taking their time, doesn't realize how long they're taking, all that stuff. It's important to have the chess clock there so that other guy doesn't lose his opportunity to win the event because either they didn't get enough battle points or they lose because of what turn it ends on or any number of things. And we've, as a community, been through all of the other options, and they just don't work as well as chess clocks. Dividing the time evenly is a solution, and I'd say probably the fairest one, too. Your point about points, though, I think, regardless of how long it takes, I think a smaller game is always a more competitive, tighter game. And so knocking 25% off would be just better for the quality of the game, I think. We wouldn't know that without trying it, of course. But yeah, I think that's why I think it's mutually exclusive. I think both are good and both would be improvements to a competitive format.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's interesting. It feels like Groundhog Day, this conversation, in some ways, like a lot of the time, because it's one that's consistent and is a persistent problem. I do think someone made the point in the chat, like, why, Pete, your point about the 80% versus the 20%. Like, it seems odd to penalise 100% of the people for a percentage of bad actors, like, or intentional bad actors, or strategists, if you will, for another example.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
I just don't see it as a penalty. It is far more rare that a chess clock's a penalty than anything else. Just far more rare because most people are finishing their games anyway. Mm-hmm. The people that aren't often don't care. And if you watch like a top table event sometimes, there are guys that'll just know, right? They're confident enough in their ability to know when you're cheating them, and they'll say, "We don't need the clock for this because I know I'll finish in time," right? It's generally for like the bad actors, or like the other thing is like they're just people that don't know. They don't know how much time they're using. They're completely oblivious, and both are equally important to have the clock for.
I would say, Rob, too, like one of your things is like, so this is the personal responsibility bit, like know your stuff, be able to complete the game if you're going to an event, all that kind of stuff. But we've already established these are opens. You're going to have a wide variety of skill level, including guys like this guy, me. I really love chess clocks because I am not an asshole, but I do have bad ADHD and I take too long. I play armies that are big and have too many models for my skill set, and it's hard for me to get through a game. Having the chess clock actually relieves a lot of stress off of my shoulders because if I play slow, I suffer. I don't ruin the experience for the other guy. So like I bring a chess clock and say, this isn't for you, this is for me, because I don't want to screw you out of a fair game. And so that's from a personal perspective, like chess clocks take a lot of pressure off of me. And if I take too long on a decision, that hurts my game, not my opponent's. And I can also choose, do I want to think hard here or do I want to try and play fast? I don't have to always feel like I'm rushing. I know how much time I have. I can budget it accordingly. So it's a really useful tool for enjoying a tournament situation for me, because no matter what, some people are just going to find the fact that there's time at all stressful. I think the flip side to this argument is don't have timed rounds, right? Like that is a way to do it too. You play to the end, like baseball, cricket, any number of things. You play to the end of the game. You don't play to a time limit. The issue is if you have multiple rounds in a day, that might be hard. But no one's done the social experiment. It was pitched again.
What's the social experiment?
The social experiment of not having round times. So you say no round times. We start the next round when everyone's finished.
We've done it on TTS actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. And then you end up with 6-hour fucking games.
Mm-hmm. So the difference with TTS is you don't have a room full of people tapping their feet around you. So that's what that was what I thought. Maybe that would add an element, is that you become aware of time when everyone's waiting for you, and you become aware of, do we want to finish this game, or can we just call it now? Like I don't know, maybe not, but that was something that was pitched by, that's another Kelly, the Warzone Atlanta TO proposal when this was really contentious, because he also hated chess clocks. So he's like, well, why don't just not have round times? And everyone said that's stupid. It'll never work. I was like, I don't know. And Pete said it was stupid, never work. But I thought maybe it'd be interesting.
I mean, it is stupid. It would never work, but it would be interesting too. I don't disagree.
Right, anyway, listen, Pete needs to go back to bed, or try to go to sleep anyway, so we should call it today. Next week we'll be getting an update on whether or not Pete has maybe read at least the rest of the Wikipedia article.
So Tony moves back in with Tony. Super Hands develops a crack cocaine addiction.
He does.
Jez meets, falls in love, and starts an open relationship with Nancy, played by Rachel Blanchard, an attractive and happy-go-lucky American.
Crack is very addictive, is the point Super Hands likes to make.
That's true, though.
Very Moorish.
That's true, though.
Yeah. You get so much done, though, when you're not doing it. So you're going to go on a journey. You should watch it. You guys got any shout-outs before we head out today?
Shout out to the FLGN, to Richard Hughes, to getting these things off the ground. Hopefully to 40K Stat Center. Sorry, Pete.
That's fine.
And shout out to Honest Wargamer and Rob Symes, because every time I'm in a jam, that man answers his phone and he helps me, and it's very generous, and I really, really appreciate it.
No problem, anytime. But Pete, you want to shout anyone out today?
Outward Realms, I think today's the last day of the Kickstarter, so if you want in on the cheap version of all the models, do it, because it's moving to distribution right after this. And nope, I don't like anybody else, so that's it.
What about anyone out there would like to send Pete which specific grot and or Crew Boys model are you looking for?
I tweeted this. I absolutely need the Shaman from the Cruel Boy set and the Pot Grot. Mostly the Shaman. If I get the Pot Grot, it will make me feel better. But the Shaman, if I don't get it, my bones will melt. I will no longer have bones. I don't know what I'll do with that.
That would make you
everyone just send him every model except that one. And let's see what Pete looks like without bones. I'd say it's probably similar.
It is. Like, I'm pretty fat, so I don't know if we'd notice the difference.
Thank you. My shout out is obviously Twitch chat. Thanks to everyone on the podcast for staying hydrated. Thanks to everyone on the YouTube thugs. The thuggery is real. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks to Nurgle Matthew. Thanks to everyone for resubscribing. Thanks to these two for getting up, especially early, and talking through some fun issues all the time. You're all amazing people. Thanks for listening to Honest Wargamer, and we'll see you soon.